Boston Celtics get a weird win in Toronto. That's what Joe Mazzulla said. I'll talk about that. Derrick White, Jrue Holiday going off. Jayson Tatum playing hero, and that defense. Oh, that zone defense. Fun times here on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And I got you covered every single Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on weekends when they play, with a free, never have to pay for it, fresh daily podcast for you. So subscribe, whatever your favorite podcasting app is, Apple, Spotify, whatever, it's there. You can watch the show on YouTube. Hop into the comment section. Let me know what you think about the show, about what I said about the Celtics. I'm John Karalis. I played ball a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today, we're talking about the Boston Celtics win 105-96 in Toronto. Later on, I'll get to the zone defense. Al Horford was amazing. Jayson Tatum, huge in the third quarter. Derrick White, Jrue Holiday. I'll start off with Joe Mazzulla kind of saying that this is just a weird January game. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. All you got to do is place a $5 bet. That's it. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Mazzulla said after the game, this was a weird one. You had to really fight for our energy. We had to fight to stay engaged. This felt like a just January doldrums, lack of energy. No Jaylen Brown. That didn't push the Celtics into that when a guy goes down, everybody else kind of steps up. Everybody likes to call it next man up mentality. Every team says it. We got next man up mentality. Everybody thinks that that's something special. Yeah, everybody does it. But the Celtics didn't kind of get a boost necessarily from everybody trying to step up. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be until the end, until the fourth quarter. But I thought this would be actually kind of like a schedule. Like I was calling it pregame potential schedule win, because Toronto was coming in off of a long West Coast trip. First game back could be a little problematic, but they hung with the Celtics, and Boston built a lead. Boston built a little bit of a lead in the first half. It wasn't perfect, but 7-point lead at halftime, and then Toronto comes out in that third quarter and really just smacks the Celtics. And I don't know if this is the same old third quarter stuff that the Celtics have gone through, or is this January kind of not feeling their best. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the same old third quarter thing for me. It feels more schedule related. It feels more January related. Doesn't feel like they came out and were like, yeah, whatever. We're just going to put in a half effort. I didn't like the beginning of the third quarter, and whatever the reason was, it still wasn't great. So, but they had to overcome a lot there. So I feel like this is going to be how these wins go for the next couple of weeks. The Celtics schedule is, we talked about this earlier on the podcast. The Celtics have had this weird road for a couple of games, home for a game, road. Like these home games have basically been road games. They haven't had time to unpack or anything. They going back to December, they went San Antonio, OKC. You come home, you play Utah on Friday. Then you go to Indy for a couple of days, come home, play Minnesota for a day. Then you go to Milwaukee right away, come home, play Houston. Now you go to Toronto right away. It's been kind of this big, long road trip where come home, hi family, bye family, off I go again. Now they get at least a couple of days at home, go back on the road. It's more consistent. A couple of games at home, 3 on the road, then 7 at home. And finally, things start to settle out a little bit. And it's not back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So until they get to that homestand, I think these types of games are a little bit more of what we can expect. It's not going to be quite as crisp as we've been used to. There are going to be moments, and I think the zone defense spurred some of those moments, which I'll talk about later on. But the consistent top to bottom, it's going to be a little more difficult to get that. I mean, they did get that against Utah, but they kind of have been struggling to get that consistently since then. Even the Houston game was a slow build to the blowout. So they got San Antonio coming in on Wednesday. That's going to be, they blew out San Antonio, but that's such a weird. There's such a weird group where if they play well together, they can make some noise. And then the Denver Nuggets, that's always going to be a tough game. Boston plays Denver well, but that's always a tough game. So this week with those two teams, I don't know if San Antonio is going to be a trap game because the Celtics blew them out. So you have to kind of keep an eye out for how that game plays out. Looking ahead to Denver, maybe that Friday night game will be a little bit more consistent, but still a tough opponent. Then they hit the road for a weird, like a Sunday, Monday, Houston, Dallas back-to-back before a couple days off, and they go to Miami. So 3 games in 4 nights, you're going to see some of that same kind of struggle with the energy. You got to get past that. And there's still a 3 and 4 coming up with the Clippers, Pelicans, and Pacers. I can't believe that the Celtics play the Pacers for a 5th time before January is over. That is insane. But the whole point of this is to say, I don't think the Celtics are going to settle all the way back into how they play at their best for another couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer, maybe not until the beginning of February, because that's when you get into the real meat of that homestand. The Lakers with then 2 days off, then Memphis, then 2 days off, Atlanta day off, Washington day off, and then that next week heads into the All-Star break, and everybody can go relax, and maybe you come back and get ready for that March and April swing. I'm talking about like that's the end of the season, March and April. This stuff is flying by. This is the January 16th show. I'm going to be doing the playoffs. These are going to be playoff podcasts really, really soon. So, weird game. I think it's a very January win, but let's get into the specifics. Let's get into Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, and the Jayson Tatum heroics in the third quarter, and now Horford and all that stuff. We'll get to that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I'm a big proponent of therapy, and I know the biggest obstacle to therapy is generally finding the right person. And finding the right person is difficult because you have historically been limited to who is in your area, who has an office near where you live or near where you work. And that really shrinks the pool down. BetterHelp is going to kind of help alleviate that because it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Step 1, you fill out a questionnaire. You go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. You fill out a questionnaire. They match you with a licensed therapist. So right away, it's kind of tailoring who you're matched with to your needs, whether it's getting through a stressful day, whether it's getting to the heart of something that's more deeply rooted. And the best part here is not only can you work this however you want to do it. Video chat, text, phone, whatever. If it doesn't click, you can switch. You anytime, no additional charge, right? So this is a great way, a very modern way to get something convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule here. Give therapy a try. Give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. You will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's number one sports book, and that's because they have deals like this. You, a new customer, go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You sign up, you make a deposit, and then you make one $5 bet. That's it. One $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. It's very simple. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Go sign up. $5 bet, $150 on top of whatever you win with your bet to go play with. You can put them on some live same game parlays. You can get into that explore tab and find bets that other people are making. You can go into the parlay hub and see what popular parlays are out there. People love to pile these bets up and you pick a couple of different things. You can put $10 down or $5 down and stack a parlay and the odds get bigger, but the payout gets bigger if you hit it. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. The best part about FanDuel to me is the tools that they have where you can set your limits, set your budget, understand how much you can spend to have some fun on FanDuel, set it up. They will take care of the rest, and you can have fun because you will be gambling responsibly. Today's show brought to you. Oh, no, today's show is not brought to you by anybody. I just want to say thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today. And maybe we could say today's show brought to you by Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever national sports 24 streaming channel, 24/7 streaming channel. I'm not going to do that over. I'm leaving that in. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7, covering the top stories in the sports world, whatever it is. And it's not that contrived crap, fake arguing that people do. It's real conversation about real sports stories that you want. Go check it out over there on YouTube or here on YouTube if you're watching this show. All right, let's get into the specifics of this game that the Celtics won in Toronto, because it starts with Jrue Holiday, who came out of the gates hot, right? 22 points. His first quarter was amazing. He did his damage in the first quarter and the fourth quarter. 22 points, 18 points in the first and fourth, 10 in the first, 8 in the fourth. The first quarter was just pure magic from Holiday. 3 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line. 10 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, a steal, and 2 blocks. That is an amazing first quarter. For, kind of filling in for Jaylen Brown, who normally handles the first quarter duties. I wrote in my pregame, who's going to help the Celtics get off to the fast start. They did shake up their substitution pattern, which they'll do from time to time if there's foul trouble or whatever. But Jayson Tatum played the entire first quarter, then sat to start the second quarter, and the same thing in the second half. And, shout out, by the way, to those bench units who, to start the second, to start the fourth, really held their own. And it's an underrated element of the non-Tatum minutes were not a disaster without Jaylen Brown. So the Celtics ended up winning this by 9. Tatum was a +8. So there's still a plus number out there without Tatum on the floor. That's huge. That's a big deal to me. Like a guy like Luke Cornett was a +12. Pritchard was a +16. Those guys were able to not only be part of the rebuilding of the lead, they were able to extend the lead to start the fourth quarter, which was important. But Holiday sets the tone. Derrick White hits some big shots. He struggled a little bit with his shot missed a couple of layups. It wasn't the prettiest game from Derrick White, but he hit the big 3-pointer when it counted. It was a crazy shot in that right corner, almost like he was falling out of bounds. The thing is, he does practice that. I've seen him in the practice facility. I've seen they don't just make perfect passes to one another. They actually take the time, like when he's working out, he'll have the pass be thrown low. The pass will be thrown high. The pass will be thrown so he's on the move. He practices these types of shots where catching the ball, just the catch was impressive. To land and to go right back up and take that shot, it's not the first time I've seen him do it. They practice the bad pass, quick release type of stuff, and he drilled it. But 22 for White as well, 22, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. So he was more just handling a lot of the scoring. But his 3-point shot is back. He was 5 of 11 from 3. That's good, 45.5%. After going through the JJ Redick jinx, JJ was around. He was tweeting about the broadcast. He said that he was listening to them because they were talking about that jinx on the podcast. Jinxes are not real, by the way. It's just a funny coincidence that after he did the podcast, his 3-point shooting kind of cratered for a little bit, but it's back. So nice combo game from White and Holiday. 44 combined points, tied for the team high in scoring, and Jrue led the team with the 7 assists, 22-7, 6 rebounds, that steal and the 2 blocks, just 1 turnover. Just a wonderful game from Holiday. And then the defense, which I'll get more into a little bit later. Jayson Tatum was, look, 19 points. That's not a typical Jayson Tatum game. His 3-point shot kind of fell apart a little bit. 1 of 6. He was 7 of 19 overall. But boy, he did a lot otherwise. 14 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, a block, just 1 turnover. The 6 assists generated 17 points, so he was getting guys a lot of 3-pointers. The rebounding was huge. I think the rebounding in this game was a big deal. Thought the Celtics did a very, very good job for the most part, clearing away those defensive rebounds. 14 rebounds for Jayson Tatum he's just a big time rebounder. It's not even for his position. He averages, I don't even know what he averages, but he's like up at like 8, 9. Like he's up there. He's a good rebounder. He gets in there and he gets some tough rebounds as well. But the important stretch starts for Tatum in the third quarter. So the third quarter comes out and they suck for a while. The run was 20 to 3 or 20. Toronto made a run. I forget what their run was. But they were about to add to that run when Tatum breaks up a 3-on-1. 7:14 to go. Toronto gets the 3-on-1. Tatum's defending, and he breaks it up. They come down, they score. So not only is it impressive because 3-on-1s are like automatic. Those you're supposed to score on a 3-on-1, and they didn't. Boston turns it around and goes on a 20-4 run to close the third quarter. It looked like Toronto had taken a 7-point deficit and turned it into a lead. I want to say it was like got up to like 4, maybe. Maybe it was a little bit more. I forget. But that 20-4 run that the Celtics went on not only erased their lead, they actually extended the halftime lead. So that was a big deal. And in that stretch, Tatum was incredible. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block in that 7-minute stretch or so, starting with that 7:15, starting with that steal that broke up the 3-on-1, and then just triggering this avalanche, getting to the rim, dunking, one of the most incredible dunks I've ever seen him throw down, getting the ball baseline, cocking it behind his head, kind of moving out of the way. And then I forget who he dunked on, but man, that was an incredible dunk. I think the only one that was better was the one on LeBron James in the playoffs back in 2015, where he bumped LeBron James afterwards. That was, I think, his best dunk of all time. This one was probably the second. So he had two dunks, and then he had the crazy dribbling, getting past the defenders, and then dumping it off to Luke Cornett for the finish. That was a spectacular play. And I thought, geez, Tatum, man, come on, give it up. And then he ends up getting into the middle of the defense, drawing everybody, dumping it off to Cornett for the dunk. That was incredible. Al Horford, sublime. I'll talk about Al Horford. I'll talk about the zone defense and more Jrue Holiday, because those three guys, and especially Holiday in that zone, that was spectacular. I loved it. It was incredible. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Jase. Jase Medical has you covered in case of an emergency, because their Jase case comes complete with 5 different antibiotics that treats a long list of bacterial illnesses, things like UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, plenty of other things. Why do you want to have a supply of antibiotics? Because we know supply chain issues exist. We know that delays at pharmacies exist. We know that with the craziness of this world, you don't know when you're going to be stuck. It's, storms like crazy. Are you going to get cut off from help? Are you going to get cut off from, you're going to be without power? You don't know when you're going to be in a situation that you need to have this backup. So don't have that like helpless feeling. Or you can, even if you're an adventurer, if you're an outdoors person, if you're heading out into a camping situation, you never know when you're going to cut yourself, step on something where antibiotics can actually really help you out until you get to a doctor to get you what you need. So jasemedical.com, you complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board certified physician. Your medications dispensed by a licensed pharmacy, and all at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than right now. So go to Jase Medical, JASE medical.com. Use the offer code Locked On. You're going to get $20 off your order. The code is Locked On for $20 off your order at jasemedical.com. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'll be on the Wednesday show, so go check it out. Me and Jake Madison, we got you covered there. We're covering the league as a whole in a very fun way. So go enjoy that show, because I enjoy doing it. How many more times am I going to gush about Al Horford? Honestly, how many times am I going to gush about Al Horford? Just doing all the little things. The rebounding, 11 rebounds, 9 defensive rebounds, 10 points, 2 of 4 from 3, a couple of assists, a steal. He feels like he blocked a shot, but he definitely challenged a few. Horford was so key in closing out the Raptors. Defensively, he is still top-notch. He is still a high-level defender in the league. It's embarrassing for some of the younger defenders out there, younger players out there, who are not good defenders or who do not expend the energy on defense, to look at Al Horford. You have to be embarrassed looking at Al Horford at 37 years old and seeing the level of defense that he plays. He is spectacular, and just a key reason why the Celtics are this good, right? That they are still at that he is still at this level at this point. It's amazing. And I know I say that every time he does something good, but through 40 games, the Celtics have won 31, right? They're winning 77.5% of their games. They are, at this point, they have the best point differential in the league. They are, and it's all because of the entirety of the team, Al Horford is still a huge part of all of this. So the rebounding was just great. He got some really tough rebounds. The defense, and not just the defense, but the zone defense that the Celtics put out there. I broke it down on Boston Sports Journal. So if you want to see the video, I can't show the video here on YouTube because I just can't through, I just can't. Not allowed to. And it wouldn't do much good for the people who are listening to the podcast because it's like, yeah, the video breakdown while while you're driving your car doesn't help you very much. So, but what I saw on the zone defense, especially first of all, it's a work in progress. Jayson after the game said, I'll use the word mess it up, but he used a different 4-letter word. Don't tell your kids what that is. I love when I make things worse. I could have easily casually gone by and said he used a different word, but no, I had to specify that it's 4 letters and have to specify to your kids that it's not a word that they should be listening to. But he said we still mess it up and we're learning, but it's fun defense because we're still trying to figure it out. They play this 2-1-2, and it starts with when they were running it, Pritchard and Tatum at the top, Jrue Holiday in the middle, and it started with Porzingis and Cornette down low. Al Horford had a run down low, but Holiday in the middle is great because he's the brains. He's making this go. He's kind of like calling things out to the guys up top. It's great when Pritchard is in the game because he can't be targeted. He can go and be his normal self and be high energy, but you can't really target him one-on-one because there's a lot of help behind him, and because it's the zone, there's help available. So you can't just isolate him. And it's just a great kind of curveball. Joe Mazzulla at the beginning of the season kept talking about curveballs all the time. We couldn't go a day without him saying the word curveball 3 or 4 times. This is it. But on top of it, and I call it a slider because you already have the curveball, but when you throw an extra wrinkle on top of it, I'm going to say, well, that's the slider. And the slider is with the zone going on in the middle of the zone a couple of times, you heard them switch. You can hear them say, man, 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 man. So they're playing this 2-1-2 zone, and it's kind of fluid and it's unpredictable, and guys are it looks like it could be a man-to-man for certain aspects of it, but it still remains this zone kind of principle where after everybody's covering for one another, they end up in their spots anyway. And then in the middle of it, you start saying, man, 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 and they just pick up the closest man. And this defense this offense that's been running against the zone, all of a sudden, 12 seconds into the possession, they're going man. And you're like, oh, okay. And it throws that little bit of confusion out there. And for the Celtics to start to use that and start to work it in and start to perfect it, I loved it. I loved the way it looked, especially against the Raptors here, who are a pretty good offensive team. But the Celtics in that third quarter, when they started unleashing this, it was just swarming, killed them. The Raptors didn't score for like 3.5 minutes. It was an incredibly effective defense. And the best part is Joe, after the game, he's like, yeah, it forces us to communicate. And when you watch it, you watch the video again, like there's one video that you can see the first possession. Boston Sports Journal is a pay site, but you can watch the first possession on I'd set the page break for the pay, for the people who are paying after that first video. So you can at least watch that first video. Watch how much they swarm. Watch how they communicate with one another. Watch how they are covering for one another. They're making reads. A guy is like following. One guy sticks with a player and follows him through to another spot. And everyone just morphs. The whole zone just kind of morphs. And it does absolutely force them to communicate with one another, forces them to talk, forces them to play with energy. It is uh it is a great, great, great wrinkle. And it was used incredibly effectively in that third quarter. It was spectacular. I can't say enough about it. Now, it's not going to always be spectacular. In fact, there are times where it doesn't work. And as Jason said, he messes it up. They mess it up sometimes. And it won't work in certain situations. But it's great to see them using that zone defense and working on it, because now it's going to be something that teams have to be worried about. The Celtics have entered the zone defense era. They never played zone defense. Brad Stevens refused to. Ime didn't play zone defense. Now here's Joe Mazzulla working the zone in there, and it's so fluid and unpredictable that it really gives the Celtics an edge. It's something that I'm going to be really looking for moving forward. So, nice wrinkle from Joe Mazzulla. Hey, the guy knows basketball. The guy knows basketball. So good win. Weird that, the way it went, it had a very January feel to it, but guys like Holiday and White stepped up. Jayson Tatum didn't have the best, most superstar game, but he had a superstar stretch in that third quarter. Al Horford was huge. Porzingis, I didn't really talk about him much. I'll talk about him more, I guess, tomorrow. Missed opportunity for him, but hey, that's all right. He didn't have the best game. He was a little loose with the ball, 6 turnovers. But regardless, Celtics get the win. They come home. San Antonio's next. Obviously, I'll be doing post-game podcast after the San Antonio game, bonus podcast after the Denver game. So 6 podcasts this week, not just 5. So make sure you're subscribed to get all 6 podcasts. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. If you're still here listening at this point, that means you probably want to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or on the YouTube page. Especially like if you're subscribing or if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe, because I got these other Locked On shows that think that they're going to pass Locked On Celtics as far as subscribers. We just crossed 15,000, which is just amazing. Thank you all so much for getting the show up to 15,000. I want to get to that 16,000, 17,000, because it's bragging rights. I'm not going to lie. It's bragging rights because, Locked On Rockets and those guys, they think they're better than us. Can't let them be better than us. So thank you for subscribing. If you're one of my everydayers, you know that I love you because you're with me every day, and I got you Monday through Friday, plus those bonus podcasts. Now share the podcast, spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.